Okay, as always, 15 minutes went by quickly for me in that last video, but really the main thing I wanted you to get from my notes on chapter 15 are to think about these patterns of development as you develop your definition. Think about using some of these, and then also think about using some of these different types of description to help enhance your definition. I didn't really explain at the end of video 1, but this is just some helpful description that I found on University of Northern Colorado's Writing Center website. It just gives you a basic rundown of what definition is, and I thought it was a good supplement to our reading this week, so I went ahead and put it in. It's in very general terms, but it also mentions just these strategies to help develop your definition, so I thought it was nice that it kind of went in that area as well. So anyway, I just wanted to reiterate that at the beginning of this video from week 8's class notes. And then I wanted to go ahead and pop over to your essay 4 assignment sheet. So your essay 4 is going to be a definition, and this is going to be a little different than what we've done so far. So as I read the description, you'll see that it says you're writing a one-page extended definition. This definition should be one complete, focused paragraph and take up no more and no less than one typed double-spaced page. This is going to be an exercise in clear, concise writing. Okay, so I say this is essay number 4, but really it's only a paragraph. You're just writing one very detailed and very focused paragraph that is defining a term. I've given you 10 general or abstract terms, and you can choose one of these terms to write your extended definition on. So we'll look at the terms that I've given you here in just a minute, but before we do that, I did want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about some of the basics of the assignment. First of all, let's look at the second paragraph. Although you might consult a dictionary or encyclopedia, especially one particular to your topic, definition essays do not rely on Webster's Dictionary or any other standard dictionary, nor do these definitions rely on Wikipedia. So we're looking for a more original and complete definition than what a dictionary might give us. So think about this. Instead of going to dictionary.com, instead of going to Wikipedia, look for a more specific definition. For example, if I were defining the word, oh sorry, there's a typo, not the world, the word liberty, it would be unacceptable to use dictionary.com to give a formal definition, but I could use my history textbook to give a formal definition of the word. So I'm wanting you to be more specific. I don't want you to just go to the nearest website or Google to get your definition. If you're defining a term, try to find a specific definition from something that would give it meaning. It doesn't have to be necessarily a textbook or an encyclopedia. It could be even a current article or a news page or magazine article that defines the word in a way that you would like to use it and extend that definition in your own essay. So, with that said, there are going to be some sources required for this paper, so I will get there in just a minute as well. But I wanted to give you a little bit more purpose before we talk about that. Typically, a writer uses an extended definition to propose social changes, make arguments, entertain the reader, or shed light on a larger issue. This should be your goal as well. Although there might not be a thesis statement in the paragraph, there should be a clear purpose and message to the definition. This is where I was talking about in the first video that even though you're doing an extended definition, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to define it every way that everyone defines it. You're looking for your angle and your purpose in defining the word. Now that doesn't mean you can ignore the nuances of the word, but it means that you have to realize you only have a paragraph. So you're going to have a clear purpose. And I think these purposes are great: to propose social change, make an argument, entertain the reader, or shed light on a larger issue. So be thinking about this as you write your definition. What's my overall goal and purpose in writing this? Okay, so here are the words that you're going to choose from. I know this is just a kind of a random list. These are words that have worked well for students in the past. I know there are literally a million words that you could want to define, but I am limiting it to these 10 words for a reason. So please do not ask me if you can use another word. I want you to choose one of these 10 words. So you'll just have to maybe brainstorm several of them and see which of these sounds good to you and you think that you may be able to create a purpose around. So these are the 10 words you're choosing from. This assignment is also an exercise in quoting and citing sources. An essay will not pass if it does not quote and cite at least one source and no more than 2 sources. This means the paper will have a works cited page following MLA formatting rules. I've attached some guidelines below. However, Purdue University has a great website that could also help explain this format. So you'll see the link here that you can go to find more information about MLA style. I'm going to briefly address it in this video, and then there will probably be another video coming out in the next week that will hopefully help address questions that people have had and start really nailing down MLA formatting. So this is very important though. Even though I want you to use a source, I don't want you to use more than 2 sources. Your essay will not pass if you're quoting more than 2 sources because, again, it's just a paragraph, so there's not a lot of room for other people's words because I want to hear your words and your definition. So with that said, let's look at some guidelines for your source use in this Essay 4 definition. The first one is, of course, don't quote too much. Limit your quotations just to specific words or phrases to clarify and emphasize the meaning. So again, you're not quoting a long formal definition of the word. You're just using someone else's phrase or someone else's wording to help solidify the definition for your reader. When you quote, be sure you're quoting exactly. Be sure to use quotation marks for all direct quotations. If you use 2 to 3 of that author's words in a row, you need to be quoting them so that we know that was their original language. Use a comma to separate a quotation from an introductory citation. So my example here, Devlin writes, comma, ignoring the flagrant behavior. So that's the first part of the equation. Do not use a comma if the quotation is incorporated into your own sentence. So look at this example. In discussing sexual harassment of high school girls, comma, Devlin claims that the flagrant behavior of the popular students is ignored. No commas within here because we're inserting our quotation directly into the sentence. Use parenthetical documentation for page numbers for quoted passages. See examples above. So these examples, this is the page number that quote was on in the book. So say I did end up using a history textbook to quote a definition, my quotation would look very similar, and at the end of the quotation I would put what page number in that textbook that quote was found. Then I end my sentence with a period each time. If no page numbers are available, so if you're working especially with an online source, then you use paragraph numbers. So this is what it would look like if I was using paragraph numbers. I would go count the paragraphs and I would put PAR period 2 to signify that this quote can be found in paragraph 2 of the text. So those are the two ways. Any quote that you have in your paper should have either the page number or the paragraph number. Okay, so now if you look here, we've got a couple more things to talk about. The works cited page. So at the end of your essay, you're going to have a works cited. This is telling me where you got your information, and MLA is pretty picky about what information you give. I gave an example of an essay within an anthology. So this would be like if you were quoting from our textbook, like if you found an essay in our textbook that defined a word that you wanted to define, this is what that would look like. Another popular way is probably going to be a web page or a web magazine, and so I've given you the information on how to cite that. You see we've got the information up here: author name, article name in quotation marks, title of the web magazine, or if it's a page, title of the web page, publisher name, publication date, medium of publication, which is web, and the date of access, the date that you got that article. Remember to use no page if no, NP if there's no publisher name, and ND if there's no publishing date. But hopefully you'll be able to find that, especially if you're looking at something like NewYorkTimes.com, that you're going to have a publication date, and you should have the publisher as New York Times. But I can help you out with those more and more as we go along. But the key here is that you start thinking about that and you start getting familiar with MLA, and this will help you as we continue on with our argument essay in the next unit. I did want to just show you what the Purdue OWL website looked like here at the end of this video. So when you go to the Purdue OWL website and you click on MLA Guide, which I believe is where my link will lead you, this will just kind of explain what MLA format looks like. Here's what a MLA paper looks like, all that good stuff. And then over here on the tabs, you'll see lots of great information. So if I am going to do a works cited for a book, I can click here and it's going to give me the information on how to cite a book on my works cited page. If I need electronic sources, here's where it'll show me the basic style for an entire website, for a page on a website, an article in a web magazine, which is kind of what I usually equate with an article in a web newspaper as well. So I'm hoping that this is going to give you enough information to get started, and you can be looking for more information from me as you go along. I look